You mentioned enabling stakeholders, interview training. Sounds like a lot of things to just level up hiring managers and people within the org. Can you tell me more about some of the things that you guys are doing to do that?
Yeah, of course. So currently in process, we're sort of doing like a complete overhaul of how do we train interviewers? What's the cadence? What's the content? Is this relevant? Because I think we found like some interview training through our like audit that was like pre-COVID where people were still coming into the office and like we don't have anybody. We don't have our on-site is now all virtual. Like, why are we making sure that people understand this when it's just not relevant? And so we're like long overdue for that. But I think the other thing that we're doing around enabling hiring managers, and it goes back to the capacity of the team, right? How do we bring them in earlier into the process? Whether that's helping define the ideal candidate profile, like getting a LinkedIn recruiter up next to them, having them source themselves, having them pull profiles. Um, we're also having them do some of the outreach, right? Like we want to make sure that we're standing out. And even though the market is starting to shift, like recruiters are still really active and people are still getting a lot of in mail. So how do we stand out? And one way that we found success is maybe the recruiter sends the first message, but a hiring manager is following up, or a hiring manager is personally connecting and sharing interest. And we've seen a lot of success in that. And our hiring managers are also, I think, kind of enjoying that part and really feeling like they have more of a hand in the hiring aspect. Um, so it's helped in that regard, but it also just speeds up the process, right? Like we've recently had a role in our marketing organization that historically has been a difficult skill set to find, and the process is like 45 to 60 days long. And by enabling our leaders a little bit earlier and pulling them into that, we close the role in like less than 30 days. So there's some data behind it that we can now go take out to the business and say, we get you're busy. This is really important. And this is like the impact that it made for so and so across the business. So those are the big things we're doing. We just want to make sure, our hiring managers feel like they are fully supported in their hiring and they really understand what we're doing and sort of what our goal is, which is important as we've grown. Obviously, we've got a lot of new managers as well. So
I love what you're doing. I've heard a lot recently from talent acquisition leaders that, a lot of people are trying to make an effort to involve hiring managers earlier in the process, mainly because they have a huge stake in the success of that process because the people are going to work on their respective teams. So having better collaboration earlier on results in typically a faster hiring process with a better outcome. But what I haven't heard a lot of people doing, which I think is really unique to you guys, is having hiring managers part of the sourcing process or engaging with candidates like way up at the top of the funnel. And I think that's a really great thing you're doing because candidates are used to recruiters hitting them up everywhere and anywhere all the time about open job opportunities. And so for a hiring manager to reach out, one, it shows that it's personalized just by the nature of the hiring manager taking the time because candidates probably have an assumption that recruiters are the same message that they got as a candidate, 25 other people are getting it. So with the hiring manager reaching out, it signals like, hey, this is legit. The person is really interested in me. They took the time to reach out to me. Therefore, hopefully, the candidate is more likely to respond and convert and continue down the funnel at probably a higher rate than if outreach was just coming from the recruitment team. So I imagine that has an impact on time to hire just by getting better conversion rates at the top of the funnel and more engagement that leads to having more candidates progressing through the funnel.